All right, so my name is Savannah Parison. I am the lead CCS staff advisor. So I help answer your questions of students in general about the college, sometimes about their major, but students have major advisors as well. And I'm here to help facilitate this panel for admitted students.
Yay. I'm Megan Peterson. I'm one of the other staff advisors, and I do very similar things to Savannah, and will be helping you along your journey at CCS and UCSB if you do decide to come.
Hi everyone, my name is John Latto. I'm a faculty member in both CCS and also in Letters and Science. I also coordinate the biology program. We don't have program chairs in CCS. We have program coordinators. I'm largely going to sit back and let the students answer the questions. But if there's anything I can clear up, then I will step in and say I can add.
Hi everyone, my name is Charlie. I'm a third year bio student and I'm one of the panelists today.
Hi everybody, I'm Chloe. I'm a second year CCS Bio panelist and major, and I also recently added the Environmental Studies major in LNS, so if you have questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them as well.
Hi, I'm Elise. I'm a second year panelist and I'm also a biology major.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm a second year CCS bio major, and I'm also an applied psychology minor. Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody. So our first question is going to be very much sort of diving into this question of research, right? That's a thing that's very much the heart of the creative and creative studies. So we would like to ask you guys, what kind of research are you currently involved in? And when did you start it in the college? At what point were you able to start getting involved in research?
Charlie, would you like to go first?
Oh, I'd be happy to. I didn't know you were waiting for me. I'm sorry. So I got, so I guess I should preface this. I transferred into CCS in my second year. I started as a Letters and Science student, majoring in ecology and evolution. And so I actually got involved in research before I got involved in CCS, but that was, I think, in my second month of being at UCSB. So it was during fall quarter of my first year. I got involved in some bee project work through CBER, which is a collections and research center at UCSB, which is a really awesome space to do research. And so the research that I've been doing there is projects monitoring bee diversity throughout Santa Barbara and Ventura counties, as well as asking other questions with that ecological data. And recently, 2 weekends ago, I just got back from a trip to Santa Cruz Island, where I was collecting bee specimens there, and then I'll be hopefully curating them and identifying them and everything this summer. So that's like a cool, active, in the field type of research that I've been able to do, luckily, and got involved in it pretty early on and stuck with it. Also this summer I will be, or actually I'll leave that for later. But yeah, basically anything bees is my research, and I got started in it pretty early there.
I can go next if nobody else would like to. So I got involved in research in my winter quarter of freshman year, which was right before the pandemic hit. I helped with taking care and feeding Corynactis californica, which are a very, very cute strawberry anemone, which they're actually not an anemone or a coral, they're a cnidarian. And they are very, very cool. They're very, very cute. And I worked on taking care of those in the lab. And then once we went into COVID, I stayed working with the same graduate student. And she helped me do image analysis on Corynactis californica in the wild using Santa Barbara long-term ecological research data, which was benthic reef transects in the Santa Barbara Channel, which is essentially just pictures of really cool areas of the Santa Barbara reefs. And I was taking data on who Corinactis were interacting with. So I got to learn a lot of species IDs, super cool project. And it's one that I can continue doing analysis on kind of whenever I want, which is a really great way to do flexible research. And I've been able to do it through COVID. So that's been awesome.
For me, my research is a little bit more molecular than Chloe's and Charlie's. I got involved in lab at my first quarter at UCSB as well. And the lab that I'm in studies C. elegans, which you guys might be familiar with as the roundworms that are very good candidates to study. And the graduate student that I was working with discovered that these worms can actually detect gravity. And so my project with her has been figuring out how they detect gravity. And so when I was in the lab, I was creating a bunch of like tubes, and we'd have the worms kind of like move overnight and like track where they went, see if they have like a preference for where they're going. And then once the pandemic hit, I did more of that on video analysis. And then we just finished that and found out that they do have a preference for moving up, surprisingly, even though most times you'd expect them to dig down. And so we're looking at different gene candidates, and we're just trying to figure out the mechanism. So hopefully we can do that soon, but that's been really exciting for me. And I've also been involved with a couple more research things at UCSB. One of the earlier ones I got involved with, also my first quarter at UCSB, I was swabbing bacterial samples around campus to see which ones were the dirtiest places, and then also seeing if we had MRSA, which we do not, thank goodness. But yeah, it's been really fun just walking around campus and exploring all the different things that it offers. You guys are passionate about just biology and doing research, and this is a great place to do that.
I could talk to, so I haven't really had that much of a chance to do research because of the pandemic. Like, I basically got into this lab, and then the pandemic hit. I went in and got trained, and then the pandemic hit, but I joined their journal club. So I had just been reading papers with them and presenting them. And they're studying the BD, which is the chytrid fungus that's wiping out amphibian populations like across the globe. And yeah, so in the meantime, during COVID, I just read papers with them. And then I also was a docent at Coal Oil Point Reserve for a while. So it wasn't really research, but I was helping just make sure that people were following the rules there to protect the western snowy plover, which lays their eggs right on the beach. So if you guys come here, you should definitely check those out. And then just recently, I've actually gotten to work in the lab, and I've just been doing pretty simple tasks mostly. But this weekend, we're gonna go down to Stunt Ranch and catch frogs. And then next weekend, we're going to Napa to catch frogs. So I'm pretty excited.
So what all of you are doing is awesome and sounds incredible. But our next question is, how did you get into these opportunities? How did you find them, and how difficult was it to get into? Did you just start emailing people that you thought their research was cool? Did you find it on a job board? How does one?
The way I found my research opportunities was entirely through CCS. Megan and Savannah send out these helpful little emails that have a bunch of different opportunities on them. There's also a couple CCS faculty that do the same. And basically any research opportunities or any thing that they hear about that could potentially be an opportunity, they just kind of shoot us all an email. And there was a little ad for a graduate student who needed help working on these worms. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, I really love developmental biology, and like, that sounds really cool. Like, how do things detect gravity? Like, nobody knows that. And so I reached out to the graduate student, and I had an interview and like we talked a lot, basically just nerded out the whole time. And that's how I got in on that project. And that's also how I found out about the bacterial sampling around UCSB. Kathy Foltz, who was one of the faculty advisors, had sent out an email for that. And I just replied and I was like, hey, that sounds interesting. You know, I'll apply for that. And that worked out as well. So I really owe CCS a lot for providing me with those opportunities and getting me those connections.
I can go next. So I came about my opportunities in a different way than Lindsay. I think that mine were rather random, but the best advice I can give is UCSB has an incredible amount of research just related events. So there are graduate seminars, there are seminars for every department. So MCDB, EEMB, environmental studies, they all have often weekly seminars that you can attend, and they're full of grad students and professors, and they'll ask really cool questions, talk about their research. And that is essentially how I got mine. I went to a lab meeting of a lab that I was not a part of because a friend of mine through CCS invited me. And I was just listening to everybody talk about their research. And I met a grad student who was also not in that lab and just going to their lab meeting for fun. And that ended up being the grad student that I've consistently worked with. And she's an amazing mentor. But I met her completely randomly, just by both kind of having a shared interest in this lab and wanting to go to their lab meeting. So I'd say that's one of my biggest recommendations for finding research is just put yourself in the presence of the people who are doing what you want to be doing. And don't be afraid to just ask questions about what they're doing and to obnoxiously just over and over say, I would just love to help you with anything you're doing. Please, if you ever need grunt work, I will do it. Just over and over, say that to anyone who you think is interesting, and eventually it'll work out. Sometimes it takes a while, but it'll work out.
I can go. I had a similar experience to Lindsay. I was on the biology majors chain mailing list. It wasn't. I don't think it was a CCS one. I think it was just to all biology majors at UCSB, and it just said like the Briggs Lab is looking for undergraduates. Like send us your resume. And oh, it says my internet is unstable. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Yeah, and then I just went in and they interviewed me and I sent them like a CV, and then they were like, cool, you're in. And that's how that happened.
I love these stories. I'm like grinning ear to ear. And I think the thing I love about it is like ultimately there's this acknowledgement that like you guys have things, you know, the polite way to say it is you have things you're passionate about. The straightforward way is you guys are a bunch of like nerds, and you guys want to meet other nerds. And it's a really great place to be able to like connect in that way about something that you're passionate about, and like being willing to become passionate about somebody else's passion, I think is a great way to network and find research. So yeah, Charlie makes the point of like people want to talk about their research. Like that's their goal in life, is to talk about what they love. So like if you're coming in with the attitude of like, I also want to talk about what you love, you're going to make a lot of friends really fast. So our next question is not so much about finding friends, but finding mentors, right? How did you find the faculty advisor that is right for you? And John, I don't know if you want to start us off by just talking about CCS like bio faculty advisors real quick, just to give some context.
Sure. I mean, every student in CCS has a faculty advisor, but in each of the majors, it works a little bit differently. So in biology, we're fortunate that we actually have quite a decent group of faculty who are willing to do this. But we don't necessarily know your interests coming in. And if we were to ask you to state your interests, well, many people change quite rapidly over the first year. So typically what we've done is that I or myself and Claudia Tyler, another faculty member, sort of act as your advisors as you get started. And then as you find someone else or someone else finds you, or we just want to get rid of you, no, just kidding. We sort of direct you in other directions. And so there's a fairly obvious faculty member who likes to take anyone who's interested in marine things. It usually works out pretty organically in biology. People drift to someone more permanent. And then that's just the CCS faculty advisor. If you're working in someone's lab, they are going to be a tremendous advisor and mentor as well. That may be the grad student, or it may be the professor in the lab, or it could be all of them, it could be many people in the lab. So what you need from your CCS advisor is going to vary depending on how many mentors you have in total. So maybe the students could talk more generally about who are your mentors, not just your faculty mentor, but other people who you find giving you mentorship here.
I can speak a little bit to that one. So I am one of the marine students that immediately flocks to Professor Armand Curis. He's a great advisor, and I settled on having him as my advisor within the first 2 quarters about. And I cannot stress the importance enough of having really great mentors wherever they are, because I think particularly with CCS, your faculty mentors, you always run your classes by them every quarter, but they do a lot more than that. They can guide you in your research. For example, like I was planning an independent project this summer and I decided, it'll be really cool to look at mussels. And I planned kind of an ambitious project on mussels. And then Armand very politely told me that mussels are about the hardest organism I possibly could have chosen to do an independent project on. So it's really important to have advisors that know vastly more than you so that they can tell you like, that's a critical error. How about you switch your goals towards this? So just communicate with your advisor. It's great. It's so helpful. It saves you an immense amount of trouble. And then I've had Amelia, who's the grad student that I'm working with, as another great mentor. She has done a huge amount for like inspiring me to double major and teaching me all different kinds of image analysis and helping me get into various research. It's been super, super helpful to have her. And then also I've just kind of like one-off reached out to random like PhDs or postdocs or professors to get their advice on things. I actually today had a really great productive phone conversation with a postdoc in the Macaulay lab, which is another lab here on campus, where he just gave me a bunch of advice on kind of what classes I should take, because he's in a very similar career path to the one that I want to see myself on. So anybody can be your mentor, but definitely look out for CCS mentors. They're great. They're very helpful.
I'll just add on real quickly to that. I totally echo everything Chloe said, but especially that last point, like anyone can be your mentor. And maintaining those mentor relationships that you have wherever through college and through your career and everything is really important too. One of my bosses that I've worked with for a couple of years as like a boss employee, and now as like a advisee mentor relationship, I have meetings with her about once a quarter, and we just talk about like career path type of stuff, and that's really valuable to me. But also, graduate students that I've worked with, PIs and labs have all been great mentors. So just making sure to appreciate and use those mentor relationships as much as you can beyond just whatever the requirement is. So for CCS, there's the required meeting once a quarter where you have to fill out a little advising slip that sort of tells Megan and Savannah, that you had a meeting with your mentor and they like approve your class schedule for the next quarter. But those meetings can be super valuable if you bring the questions too of like, hey, I'm thinking about double majoring, or I'm thinking about, I want to do field work, but I'm not sure how to navigate that. They'll help you with that. So bringing those questions to make those mentorships as valuable as they can be is really important as well.
Amazing answers. Y'all are great. So next question is, CCS students take advanced courses and do research or are constantly making for art majors. How do you manage the workload along with extracurricular activities? And what do you do outside of CCS and research?
I can speak a little bit on this one. So we do tend to speed through the little undergraduate courses that are more intro series. So for example, John Lotto and Claudia Tyler, they teach an amazing intro bio course that's just really fun. And they, in non-COVID times, they take you on a little field trip. And so that was fun. And then because we've gone through those intro series, we can take up our divisions faster. So Elise and I actually took a statistical analysis class specifically for biology in our freshman year spring quarter. And we had a bunch of projects where we would do coding and just analyze things and make all these really fun graphs. And that's been very useful in our lab research and just working with the data that we've been accumulating from our own research. And so that's been cool to see how our courses are applied to our research. In terms of what I'm doing outside of school, this quarter is a very busy quarter for me. I have 2 jobs currently. One of them is pouring plates in the lab that I'm also doing research in. Another is working at a small biotech company in Goleta. And then outside of that, I'm also on leadership for an Asian American Christian organization. And so it's been like a little bit of juggling. You kind of have to know your limits of what you can take on. And also just overall keep checking in with yourself, like how are you feeling each day? That's been helpful. And then make sure that you have a good social network where you can unwind after a busy day. But overall, it's doable. You can manage whatever you want, just be mindful of your limits. I have met with my faculty advisor multiple times saying, hey, I'm thinking of taking on this course and doing these things. And he's like, maybe not. And that's been very helpful. So again, your faculty advisor is one of the greatest resources you can use, in addition to the other connections you make through research. And you can also have multiple meetings with them per quarter. You're not just limited to the one. They will make time for you. Like my faculty advisor is Stu Feinstein, and he is currently part of the huge board heading the COVID movement for UCSB. And he still finds time to meet with me within a few days if I shoot him an email. So CCS is really great for that.
I could talk to you about this. I feel like in college, you just automatically have more time than you did in high school. Like I feel like I have so much, like, well, it depends, I guess, on the quarter, but when I got to college, I was like, wow, I have so much time. I mean, I guess I was just a really overscheduled kid in high school though, but I feel like it's so much easier to find the time to do things, like even though it's harder classes and like college level courses. But yeah, so yeah, I have my classes, and then this quarter I've been working in the lab. And then I also really like mountain biking and road biking, and I'm on the cycling team at UCSB. So I go out and ride a lot every week, and sometimes I ride with people on the team. And I don't really have too many other extracurriculars other than that. I feel like I'm also interested in like making art and stuff, but this quarter I'm taking like a drawing class, so I'm also just doing that in CCS. And also I guess it's good to like stress that you don't have to go, you don't have to take all the hard classes you want to take at once and immediately. Like I've definitely done that a couple quarters, and it's just like I could have taken these more spread out and later. Like right now I'm currently taking like mostly GEs because I've just put off all my GEs, and I'm like, why was I going so hard these other quarters? And now I'm really pretty relaxed and just taking some GEs right now. So I don't know, I think it's good to like pace yourself, and you will probably just already have more time if you were a busy high schooler like me.
I can also say that our cohort for the second years in bio are very close to each other, and along with a bunch of other people just generally in CCS and who lived in our dorm freshman year. And so it is helpful to schedule in times. Like, for example, we have a weekly bagel Saturday where we'll all meet up and like get bagels. And that's a really great way to just hang out with people and already have that time like slotted away for that. Again, just scheduling, kind of knowing your limits and balancing things. It's helpful, but it's definitely something that's necessary.
Yeah, I also schedule in Bagel Saturday and see Lindsay every Saturday for bagels at the Bagel Cafe. And I think that it's definitely important to figure out, I think, not just like what you're gonna do and how that like fits in your day, but how much time things actually take, because that's a new skill. I think with high school, you kind of figured out like, okay, yeah, this is how much, this assignment will take for this class within your life at home. But college is very different, and figuring out how much time everything takes for your new lifestyle is like a big task. So I'm going to echo what Charlie said in the chat. Definitely do not schedule yourself too heavy your first quarter, because you're going to be figuring a lot out, and you're going to be making friends, and that's huge. I mean, like Lindsay was saying, our second year cohort is like freakishly close. There were 10 of us. We all talk regularly, even in quarantine. So that's been kind of a lifeline, honestly. And I guess going back to the original question, which I haven't talked to at all, is I am in a pretty heavy course load this quarter because I just added a double major. So I'm doing some catch up for that. And I'm also working at the Reef, which is the on-campus aquarium. Really, really fun. Right now we're doing entirely things on Zoom, but it's going to be in person soon, and I'm so excited for that. And that one has just been kind of that. Right now it's balancing how I don't get Zoom fatigued because I'm on Zoom constantly. But I think, going back on campus, it'll be a little bit easier to figure out everything like that. But yeah, figure out kind of how much time everything takes and how much time your life takes, not just your classes and your activities.
Yeah, those are all really, really important points, and I agree with all of them. I think it's important to make sure that you have a support system. So make new friends and maintain your old friendships from high school. Those people are going to be super important in navigating everything throughout college, especially throughout that first quarter potentially. And to also be mindful of the fact that as a STEM major, you will in general have a little bit less free time than some of your non-STEM major friends and classmates and GEs and stuff like that. And that's totally fine. And but just be mindful of the fact that there are going to be times when you have to go to the library instead of going to a social event. And that's okay, but take care of yourself, have a support system, have some friends that are STEM majors as well, so you can get through that together. You can go to the library together. Yeah, FOMO in the chat, all that good stuff. And then the other important thing is to be mindful of, for your time, you can fill up your entire schedule with as many things as possible, and then do a very surface level depth for all of those things. Or you can take like an average amount of classes and then do your research on the side, but really be able to dive into that. And, you know, you have the time to go to the lab meetings and you have the time to pick up, you know, a bit of extra work one quarter that turns into like a personal project over the summer that you get funded for, like all of these things. So think about how you want to allocate your time, and you don't need to fill up your schedule to the max just because you think you can, because you'll be able to fill it with things that you're interested in along the way as well.
You guys give like great life advice. Loving it. I'm glad it's gonna be like recorded, and Megan can and I can be like, if you don't believe us, like here's a whole panel full of people saying so. So our next question is a bit of a jump, but one of the things that we hear a lot from CCS students and even prospective students is that they have additional interests, right? You know, you are inherently passionate people, and maybe not 100% of your passions are in biology, and that's fine. So our question is like, how interdisciplinary is CCS really? Right? Sometimes it's really easy for us to say like, oh, it's totally interdisciplinary. And then like, that's all, all you can say in a nutshell. So from the student experience, how interdisciplinary have you found CCS to be?
I think it's very interdisciplinary. I am currently taking a CCS creative writing class and a CCS drawing class, and then I'm taking a CCS biology class as well. And I think just being a part of CCS, you know that it's there, and you like, even if you're not in like a certain major, you know about the people that you can talk to in that major, like, and like I've taken another CCS art class before. I don't know. I think I don't fully know how to answer this question, but you can do things in other CCS majors, and also I know a lot of people who are in other CCS majors, and they know a lot about what they're majoring in. So it's really great if I have a question about something, like if I have like a physics question, I have like 10 people I could ask this random physics question and they'd all give me amazing answers or something. Yeah, I don't know. And I've been thinking about double majoring in CCS art, but Dan said they had like double the high number of people like who wanted to come this year or something, or who were admitted. I'm not sure, who applied maybe. And so he said he'd have to get back to me on that one, see how many of them came. But yeah.
Yeah, CCS is very diverse within itself. Even though there's only 8 majors, if you look at a singular major, there's so many different interests going on inside of them. For example, Charlie's doing bees, Chloe's doing stuff with sea anemones, and I'm doing things with worms. Like, everybody has such different interests and such different niches to fill. And aside from that, people also have so many other different things that they're interested in. Like, for example, one of the teams that I'm on for leadership in my club is on social justice. And so we talk a lot about that, and we talk a lot about different things that feed into it and what we can do about it. There's a lot of different ways that you can expand yourself aside from just pigeonholing yourself into your major, because that's not just who you are. You're a whole bunch of different things. And so it's really cool to be able to explore that and to meet other people outside of CCS as well. And you know, it's a great place to be. UCSB has so many different things that you can look at. I really love nature, so even though I spend a lot of my day inside a laboratory, I can step outside and see the lagoon and the beach, and Chloe and I like to poke sea anemones. Gently touch sea anemones, and also crabs and all of the other things. Yeah, and so there's just so much diversity within the CCS student body. And if you have a very niche interest, you can probably find somebody else who will be passionate about it as well, or even just passionate about listening to it. So everybody has their own different interests. There's a lot of people who double major in things completely different from their CCS major. There's no shortage of people who are just passionate to learn.
I think another really cool thing about CCS is when you think interdisciplinary, a lot of the time it's like the A through Gs of the UCs, and it's taking classes in every single field. And that isn't required with CCS for most of the major, or well, it isn't. And so it's nice because you get to go very directly into your field of interest. But I think that the biggest part of CCS that's really interdisciplinary is like the experience itself of being in the CCS community, because you'll make friends with writing majors, with art majors, with physics majors, and we all go to each other's events. Like my roommates freshman year were a CCS art major and a CCS writing and literature major, and the writing and literature major had worked on a movie for the Santa Barbara Film Festival, and we all went down and we all watched her movie when it came out. And the art major had an art gallery opening. We all went to the opening. It was great. And then I didn't present at RockaCon because that's normally when you are a little bit older. But RockaCon is like generally for the STEM majors, but for any of them, it's a research presentation and platform, I guess, is the best words that I can use for it. I'm sure that Megan and Savannah can answer more questions about that. But we all, like all of the majors, went to RockaCon, listened to the presentations. And it's just really fun because you definitely don't only go to your events, you go to all of your friends' events, and you really just see everything that they're passionate about, and you get really excited about it. And I think that's really cool.
Yes. RockaCon, it's a good time. Okay, so what was important to you when you were considering colleges? What factored into your decisions to attend CCS?
For me, it was a no-brainer. I really wanted to do research, and all of the places, I knew that since maybe like freshman year of high school. Well, I knew I wanted to do biology, and I kind of figured out towards the latter end of high school that I really wanted to do research specifically. I did not want to go to med school, and so when I was applying to colleges, I kept asking like, "Oh, hey, like, what do you have for research? How easy is it to get in?" All these different things. And most colleges said, you need to work your butt off to get seen. And then, you might be able to get into a lab by like your third year. And CCS was different. They said, first of all, congratulations on your admittance. And second of all, we really favor research, and we would love to have you here and for you to just be able to do research starting from your first year. And I was like, wow, like my first year, like, that's crazy. I thought like maybe like spring quarter of my first year, I'd maybe start to get into a lab. But no, they got me in my first quarter. I already had something lined up before I even stepped foot on campus. It was really great, and they really cared to get you in, and they really cared to see you thrive in your research settings.
I personally didn't even know what research was. I think my tour guide was a CCS biology major, and I just asked her a bunch of questions, and I was like, wow, this sounds really cool. And then I applied, and then the more I learned about it, the more I liked it. But I think what attracted me is that like I know I was very interested in biology, and I think just like the idea of like a small community that could like kind of help guide me more was very attractive. Yeah.
When I was choosing colleges, I was choosing, my final decision came to UCSB and CCS versus Northeastern, because I chose based on program primarily, and both had a really strong marine biology program. And for me, I think the biggest decision was like kind of looking into what I really wanted my academic experience to look like. With Northeastern, there were all these like internship opportunities and getting you in the workplace in the field you're interested in. And that's awesome for a lot of people. But it wasn't as research oriented. And with CCS, it was get in a lab, do your own research project, figure it out, like go through, do your own independent project, have a bunch of advisors to help you do it. But you just there was no question as to whether you would get to experience research during your undergrad. It was just there. And that kind of decided it for me, because that was what I wanted. I wanted my career to be more research oriented than to go into, you know, the private sector, which is not to say that if you're in CCS, you can absolutely go into the private sector. It's just with CCS, you kind of, no matter what, will get research. You have to try for it, but it's a whole lot easier. And that was what I wanted. And I think that, and just the nice, warm, bubbly feeling that I got when I came to open house and met everybody, those are the two things that totally decided it for me.
I'll also just, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, seriously, go ahead.
Okay. I'll also just add that CCS has so much more support and mentorship from staff, and you get to work directly with faculty and other staff more so than you would in a larger college. And so like if we were doing this panel in the letters and sciences for biology, you probably wouldn't be in like a normal Zoom room. You'd be like watching a video with like 1,000 other participants. And that's a pretty good analogy for what happens when it comes to needing to talk to a staff advisor. And so it's just much more support through CCS because you get basically all of the benefits of the small college at this larger community of UCSB.
I should also add, going off of Charlie's comment, we are seen as junior colleagues when we're in a College of Creative Studies. And so our relationship to the faculty members is not a bottom to top relationship, it's more side to side. And so they do allow us to address them on a first name basis. I do want to address that in case you guys think it's weird, that we've been talking as like, hi Megan, hi Savannah, hi John. But that's just how much of a familial aspect that this college has. Everybody knows each other, everybody's comfortable with each other. Because John taught the intro bio courses, we would have a lot of cool conversations with him, and it was very casual, and it was very much more enriching, in my opinion, than if we were sitting in a lecture hall and he was just talking at us and we couldn't ask as many questions or facilitate conversations and things we were interested in. So I think that's another unique portion of CCS.
I feel like we've just been having like biology happy hour. Like I'm just really, yeah, I'm having a blast. Just like listening to you guys just honestly talk. And like I know that some of this might seem like this can't possibly be real. But you know, honestly it is. And I think you know, you guys as students are volunteering your time to be here just to talk about your experience and to help other students know about what kind of experience is on the plate for them and available. And we really appreciate your time on this.